in the Lord. Psalm 39. Psalm 39 to me is a psalm really about, it gives some real insight into David and God's ways of working in David's life. David said, I will guard my tongue lest my ways, and lest I sin with my tongue. I will restrain my mouth with a muzzle while the wicked are before me. I was mute with silence. I held my peace even from good. And so he's confused. God's working in a way in his life. He's confused about what's happening, but he doesn't want to talk about it in front of the wicked. He doesn't want them to misunderstand or make them think that he's accusing God of doing something wrong. And so he keeps quiet. The old saying is better to be silent than to say the wrong thing. And that's what he felt. I'm going to keep silent before the wicked lest I, put God in a bad light. But he says, while I held my peace even from good, verse 2, he said, my sorrow was stirred up and my heart was hot within me. While I was musing, the fire burned. And so maybe you recognize that in your own life. Sometimes you're keeping quiet, but while you're keeping quiet, the fire starts to burn even hotter and hotter inside. No? Okay, sorry about that. Didn't mean to bring it up. But some of us experience that kind of thing. While he was musing, he was thinking about it, and that's what musing means. He says, I was thinking about the situation. It got hotter and hotter in my heart and harder for me to keep quiet, but I did keep quiet. And then he said, Lord, make me to know my end. Are you going to kill me with this trial? And what is the measure of my days, that I may know how frail that I am? Indeed, you've made my days as handbreadths, and my age is nothing before you. Certainly, every man at his best state is but vapor. Oh, there goes my self-esteem again. Anyway, and he says, surely every man walks about like a shadow. That's how transient we are. Surely they busy themselves in vain. And he heaps up riches and does not know who will gather them. And so, here he's talking about how man is, just goes so quickly. And then he says, as he cries out to the Lord for deliverance from God's chastening in his life, he says, for now, Lord, what do I wait for? My hope is in you. Deliver me from all of my transgressions, and do not make me the reproach of the foolish. I was mute. I did not open my mouth because it was you who did it. You helped me. And you put me in this, and then you helped me keep my mouth shut. Remove your plague from me. I'm consumed by the blow of your hand. When with rebukes you correct man for iniquity, you make his beauty melt away like a moth. Surely every man is vapor. And so it's an interesting thing concerning David, is so many of his psalms have to do with the chastening of the Lord, the discipline of the Lord in his life. It was like it was an ongoing thing in his life. When we read the historical account in the historical books, looked like he was the king and he was the guy, and did what he wanted, and it was from one victory to the next victory, and had a couple of problems here and there and that kind of thing, But here we get a picture of his private life. And there was that ongoing chastening of the Lord in his life in order to keep him humble. And here he is. He's got crowns, not only his own crown, but crowns he's captured from, a dozen other kings that they've conquered. He's got gold and silver and everything in the world. And so, what does God have to do to keep a man like that in a place where he can continue to be usable? He's going to humble him. He's going to keep him in a place where even a man like David might be able to say, you make his beauty melt away like a moth. Surely every man is a vapor. And God took that David and continued to work privately in his life so that all his life he would never forget that he was just a vapor, that he was just a shadow, and that he was just vain apart from God's purposes. And so sometimes you see these, men, and, I think of Pastor Chuck and so many others as God is using them, and it just looks like, victory to victory to, mountaintop to mountaintop to mountaintop and all. But there's that whole private life as God works so diligently to keep His people usable. And so that was happening in David's life. He said, verse 12, "Hear my prayer, O Lord, and give ear to my cry. Do not be silent at my tears, for I am a stranger with you, a sojourner, as all my fathers were. Remove your gaze from me, that I may regain strength." It's just a poetic way of saying, I'm a sinner, and quit looking at me, because all you're going to see is my sin. Before I go away, and I am no more, I'm going to melt under your gaze, Lord. And so that whole, glimpse at how God kept David humble and kept David